Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Wakil bin Muhammad Nasir. My number matric 1212119. So today I will talk about the definition and history of Judaism. So definition of Judaism according to Everypeg International 2004. Judaism is a religion meaning a mode of organizing the social order that encompasses a worldview or ethos, a way of life or ethics, and a community of practitioners who identify themselves by appeal to that worldview and through the practice of that way of life. Judaism is a religion that for its worldview knows God through the Torah, for its way of life carries out the religious obligation of building a holy community that the Torah set forth and regard the community of the faithful as continuing that same Israel as the one to which the scriptures are addressed, thus the community that is covenanted with God through the Torah. The history of Judaism is beginning with the age of four patriarchs, which is Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Isaac. So Abraham is the founder of Judaism. He believed one God. He was married and had a son named Isaac. So after the death of Abraham, Isaac was a leader for his tribe. After that, Isaac was married and had a son named Jacob. So Jacob had a 12th son. So the 12th son is the 12th tribe for the Israel people. So Joseph is the one from the 12th son of Jacob. According to some biblical stories, Joseph was favorite to his father, and it led to the jealousy between his brothers. So his brothers abandoned him and convinced to Jacob that Joseph was dead. After that, Joseph was found and had been a slave in Egypt. So after that, Joseph was the treasury for the Pharaoh kingdom, and Joseph sees this is a treat to him to unite with his family. So Jacob and his son was prepared to Egypt to live with the Joseph. So after that, after the death of Joseph, the Israeli peoples was being a slavery for Pharaoh. So God was brought Moses to come out the Israeli people from Egypt through the part Red Sea. So in the journey to the land of promise, God was revealed himself, and at that time Moses was received the revelation, which is the 10 Commandments. So after the death of Moses, the Israeli people was led by Joshua to the land of promise. So at that time, at the land of promise, which is the land of Canaan, Saul is the first Jewish king. So after the death of Goliath, David was the king for the Israeli people. David was the ideal king, the good king for the Israeli people. So after that, the ruler was continued to the Solomon. At that time, Solomon built the first Jewish temple for the Israeli people. So after the death of Solomon, the ruler was continued to the Rehoboam, which is the son of Solomon. So Rehoboam divided the Israel into the two kingdoms, which is the northern kingdom is the Israel kingdom, and the southern kingdom is the kingdom of Judah. So after a long time, the Israel people was attacked by the Assyrian. At that time, the Assyrian was led by the king Sargon II. So after that, the Jews was attacked by the Babylonian, which is Babylonian was led by the King Nebuchadnezzar. So after that, the Jewish people, after that the Persian Empire, they conquer the Babylon and rule, and he after that the Persian Empire, they conquer the Babylon and give permission to the Jewish people to come back to their homeland, which is Jerusalem. So after that, the Hellenistic period, which is the Hellenistic period is begin after the expansion the Greek tradition in the East. So at that time, Jews or the Jewish people was led by the Alexander the Great and Ptolemy. So after that, occurred some revolt from the Jewish people, which is they want to defend their Jewish custom from the Hellenization until the Roman come and conquer the Jerusalem at 63 BC. So after that, the Roman was appointing to the King Herod to be the king of Judaism until the reign of the King Titus in 17 BC. So King Titus destroyed the second temple that was made by the Jewish people at the time of King Cyprus. So at the 135 CE is the completely elimination and the fallen of the Jewish people, which is at that time the Jewish people was scattered at the other nation, and some of them were killed, and this is the beginning of the age of diaspora within Judaism. So that's all from me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Firdaus bin Faizal, number matric 1213468. I want to present about definition of Zionism. Zionism is topic that is frequently discussed worldwide, not only in Malaysia. However, some people ask what Zionism actually? Why are Zionists target Palestinian territory? This is what we will discuss, but before we do it, it's important to we know about what definition and history of Zionism in general. Zionism is a political and intellectual movement that first appeared toward the end of the 19th century. They give the name Zion to Palestine as well. The word Zion is derived from the old name for Jerusalem that appear in Hebrew Bible. According to Britannica and Jewish Virtual, Zionism is a Jewish nationalist movement that has had as its goal the creation and support of a Jewish nation state in Palestine, the ancient homeland of the Jews. Through these 2 points of view have similarities in terms of the purpose of Zionism was established where they want to establish a Jewish state in the land that has been promised to them. Study finding learn to the conclusion that Zionism is a political movement or ideology that advocates for a sake to create a state for Jewish people around the world. And finally, the Jewish state of Palestine was formally proclaimed independent in 1948. Next, we go to history of Zionism. Zionism began as a Jewish cultural and religion movement that eventually developed into a political movement, giving rise to modern Zionism. Jewish leaders who founded Zionism as a political movement included Theodor Herzl, a prominent Jew from Austria. He was important in developing Zionism philosophy and establishing Zionism as a political movement that got its start in 1882 through a number of events including the Judaism and the Dreyfus Scandal. He built up the idea of Zionism among Jews. Like in his book The Judaism, he properly applied the Zionism spirit among the Jewish people to build a Jewish state where they were at the time persecuted. Theodor Herzl played a role in increasing the spirit of nationalism of the Jewish community to support the establishment of a Jewish state through several stages. For example, the Dreyfus Incident, where he played an important role by telling something to confuse the Jews, and many other things that increased the spirit of the Jewish people. He not only created a Jewish state, but also an amazing vision of leadership of new to order to rule the globe. Theodor Herzl was so highlighted as the father of modern Zionism. Following the emergence of the Zionism movement, more and more Jews immigrated to Palestine. For information, there are 6 billion Jews living in Israel as of 2014, or 75.2% of the country's total population of 8 billion. The rest are Palestinians. With this addition, it makes it easy for the Jewish people to seize Palestinian lands. Europe saw how Nazi Germany persecuted Jews after the Second World War. As a result, Europe believed that the Jews needed their own nation. And finally, in 1948, the Balfour Declaration served as the foundation for the creation of Israel.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I will present about a few difference between Judaism and Zionism, but in the faith there are a few similarity to Judaism and Zionism faith. Firstly, based on their faith, they believe on divine love and justice. That is based on reality and uniqueness. It was understood toward the end of the pre-Christian era to proclaim over against dualistic religious foundation in the Greco-Roman world, the unity of the divine world and divine justice, as expressed in the divine names called the God. They are God called Yahweh and Elohim, respectively. A further expansion of this information is found in the first 2 benedictions of this liturgical section, which together proclaim that the God or Yahweh, who is the creator of the universe, the God who is Israel's ruler and lawgiver, are and the same. As over against religious positions that instills that the creator God and lawgiver God was separate and even mingled. And now we see, before we see at the based on their faith of Yahweh. And now let's see what is the major difference between the Judaism and Zionism in the statement of the Jewish people or Israel. So based on the response, they have a different statement in the people and the land. Closely related to the concept of Israel as the chosen or covenant people is the role of the land of Israel. In the patriarchal stories, testament is canon, is an integrated
integral part of the fulfillment from the divine side of the covenant. The goal of the Israelites is escaping from the Pharaoh from Egypt is the same land, and entry into it is understood in the same fashion. So from the what we can see that the Judaism is where the land of uh, the promised land is wait until the Messiah is come to earth. But based on the Zionism perspective, the political episode of Zionism aroused considerable opposition from those Jews who were convinced of the necessity of churchly definition of Judaism parallel to the Roman Catholic and Protestant communists. Sorry. And we see that the people of Israel by 19th century raises the issue about the meaning of the choice of Israel. That's they mean the modern people of Jews want the reformation of uh, their statement about the land, the promised land. And Jewish thinkers borrow from the romantic nationalism such as ideas as genius of the people based on the Zionism perspective. Most recently, attempts have been made to approach the question sociologically and dismissing the theological mode as unhelpful. That's mean they are they not really need to see as at the uh, theological perspective based on their own religion or Judaism. The concept of the chosen people is the understood to indicate a specific role deliberately undertaken by the Jewish people as similar to the exposed by the other group. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Lukman bin Abdul Samad, number matric 1212092. In that era, there were some people who were religious Judaism who wanted to create a new idea of thinking. According to the author of the book, Dr. Asa'ad Zarouk preferred the Talmud and the Zionism obtained an extreme and a radical Jewish understanding. In addition, the Zionists taught and are almost entirely taken from the Talmud, while the content of the book are taken from the scriptures of the Torah, which have been distorted. Looking from the point of the view of the Judaism, they are opposed to the ideology of Zionism because they openly explain what is not guided and taught by the Judaism.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Fazil Nobel Maruzani. My matrix number is 1212116. In this chapter, we will look into the school of thoughts or branches within the religion of Judaism and Zionism comprehensively. Now, let's discuss about Judaism denominations or movements. From timeline perspective, Judaism can be categorized into two main divisions, the ancient movements and the modern movements. The ancient movements are the movements during the Second Temple period, which was briefly before the emergence of Christianity. These movements are Essenes, Sadducees, Pharisees, and Zealots, while modern movements initially emerged in 18th century, mainly consisted of traditionalist or orthodox movement and modernist movement, which can be further categorized into ultra-orthodox, modern orthodox, reform, conservative, reconstructionist, and secular humanists. Now, we will talk about the ancient movements. The first group is Essenes. This group was a monastic and mystical sect. It rejected the assimilation of Greek culture. This group considered as the pioneer of religious socialism and egalitarianism because of their distinct communal lifestyle and their advocation on equality. The next movement is Sadducees. This group was liberal, pro-Roman Hellenized Jewish elites. Even though socially liberal, this group was religiously conservative. Theologically, this movement only recognized the written Torah. The next is Pharisees. This movement consisted of top priesthood advocating the study of Torah and evolutionary interpretation of Mosaic laws. This group recognized both written and oral Torah. And the final movement is Zealot. Unlike the other sects, this group was more political. Zealot was a radical nationalistic movement. It was originally a fraction of Pharisees. Zealots emerged following the conquest of Judea by the Roman Empire. This movement advocated open resistance against the occupation of Roman. Now we will talk about the modern movement, which can be divided into traditionalist or orthodox and modernist movement. So orthodox movements comprises ultra-orthodox and modern orthodox. Ultra-orthodox, also known as Haredi, maintains the strictest form of observance of Judaism, while the modern Orthodox has a more positive and pragmatic attitudes toward contemporary secular society, while maintaining the orthodox form of observance. The next division is modern movement, which includes the movements such Reform Judaism, Conservative Judaism, Reconstructionist Judaism, and Secular Humanistic Judaism. Reform is a progressive Judaism branch influenced by European Enlightenment. It views God's revelation, the Torah, as timeless truth, which means it can be unlimitedly reinterpreted. This caused the abandon of many Judaism belief and practice. So the next movement, the conservative, also known as Masorti, then emerged as a reaction against the liberal reform. It positively engaged with modernity while being considerably observed. The next group is Reconstructionist Judaism. This group initially was a liberal wing of conservative Judaism. It views Judaism as evolving civilization and emphasizes great acceptance towards modernity. Then finally we have Secular Humanistic Judaism. It is a contemporary Jewish movement that provides non-theistic perspective for modern Judaism. It describes Judaism as cultural output or the product of social construct, not as a religion. Both Reconstructionist Judaism and Secular Humanistic Judaism can be grouped as secular movements or simply Hiloni. Now let's discuss about Zionism. So Zionism can be generally defined as national political movement advocating the establishment of Israeli state and continuation of its existence. Some of the prominent movements within the Zionism, such as political Zionism, labor Zionism, religious Zionism, and retentionist Zionism. So, political Zionism is the earliest form of Zionism founded by Theodor Herzl. It advocates international diplomacy in achieving the goal of Zionism. The next movement is labor Zionism, also known as socialist Zionism. It emphasizes the integration of socialism ideal and Zionism philosophy. So the establishing of democratic and egalitarian society in Israel, thus is the center of their doctrine. So the next is religious Zionism. It views the existence of Israel state as a prophecy. It believes that the foundation of Israel must be based on the Judaism principle. And the final one, the revisionist Zionism. So they are very militaristic in their approach in realizing the aim of Zionism. It rejects any peaceful solution with the Palestine. It seeks to establish the ancient border of Israel. Thus, it concludes this section, which describe the division and branches of the Judaism and Zionism.
A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. My name is Ahmad Faris Hani bin Abdullah. My metric number 1212075. Today, I want to talk about the relationship between Judaism and Zionism. My reference book, I use the Blackwell Companion to Judaism. It is written by Jacob Neusner and Alan J. Avery Perk.
So I get 8 points, very important points for this discussion. My first point is the political standing of the Jewish people has altered more by Zionism as a national movement than modern religious or secular movement. Second, the process of social and cultural integration and normalization was aided by the reform and conservative religious movements. First, the reform and the conservative religious movements. These two components, these two groups, very important movement in this nowadays. Third, Zionism advocated for the creation of national society for normalizing the political status of the Jewish people. This successful normalization leads to three three points. First, leads to spiritual idea. Second, legal the establishment of rabbinical law. And third, political territorial sovereignty in the state of Israel. From this book, uh, I I get some important point that from the Lee Conlin. He said, Zionism is a movement of the Jewish people for the Jewish and by the Jewish people in political sense, despite the fact that Zionists were minority among Jews. Next, Zionism is a political movement and organization which is quite multicultural. This perspective is working over more than 50 years to accomplish a united objective. And last, I get from this book, from this reference, Zionism can demonstrate something that and serve an example and might be the new mission for the Jewish, but united by the unifying deal of Jewishness as it was imagined by Zionism. So okay, that from this I can conclude that Zionism is a movement of the Jewish people for the Jewish from the Jewish people. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.